Hello, everyone out there in the YouTubes or on the podcast areas that you're listening to this. I am Cyndi Seidelman, joining you once again with another exciting edition of the Gumbocast. This time around on the Gumbocast, we are talking the revival of Supermarket Sweep as a host and Leslie Jones. We also have controversy surrounding Dancing with the Stars and its inclusion of a certain figure who used to work in the Trump White House, and more interesting discussions along the way. And joining alongside me is my better half, Jessica Brand. And I mean better half in that she's smarter and wiser than I am, not in that type of sense. Both of us are still painfully single.
Yeah, well, telling you what to do, if you listen to the sound of music. But yes, not really much on the stats front of late, but always lots of things to know, always lots of things to share with the world about what's been going on. And that's always been my goal too. Like I live to educate people because there's an opportunity to spread information, and with the great amount of misinformation that pervades everywhere in our world, well, I mean, if we can avoid that, we'll make a better educated society and lead ourselves to better decisions.
One can only hope. But sometimes I'm fearful. But you know what? That's what happens. So having this little time to chit chat before we get to the major news. So what have you been up to these past couple of days? Have you ever cut yourself in any YouTube wormholes, like you'd watch one video and then you're just addicted to anything that's similar to it?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting you mentioned that because I'm kind of multitasking. So I love arcade videos, and I'm eventually going to make a channel about that. It's called Clawsome. So but
Mm-hmm.
I love arcade videos from everyone. And basically, I'll watch these folks, and I have a connection with some folks who have like 250,000 subscribers. Check them out. They're called the Craniacs. They make really fun videos that you can laugh at. Good people. But that's kind of my wormhole because I always try to find the strategy and I make people laugh at the same time and make them happy. So that's my perfect blend. And then my latest binge currently has to be 13 Reasons Why on Netflix. Favorite show that's on TV right now. Ever. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of dark. Of 13
but
Reasons
I
Why.
love the dark.
Yeah, I know you
That's
do.
where my brain space is at.
Oof, woof. Um, yeah. I've seen the first couple of seasons of 13 Reasons Why. I haven't seen season 3 yet because I know it just dropped a couple of days ago, I do believe, at the time of recording. Um, but my binge has been a little weird because before that I was binge watching a lot of classic Bill Cullum Price is Right, which I always found really exciting, so I've been trying to find a whole bunch of episodes. Um, especially after we found, especially since we found that YouTuber who's doing a lot of colorization of the black
Yeah,
and white
exactly.
shows.
Yeah, that's kind of neat to see because I've always thought when I see really old game shows, like, I mean, I realize the technology was limited and everything, but I always wondered what it was like to be like in the studio to see the colors as they were. I mean, just to see it from the perspective of the times.
Yeah, I always thought that too. We know what Password's set looked like when they had the second set because
Right.
that was completely in color. And there are photos of Price is Right's set back near the end of its run on NBC. Then you have what I thought was the most interesting was that colorizing What's My Line. Um,
Yeah, I mean, one thing that would be hard to colorize, I think, just because of the nature of the show, was the original supermarket sweep because it traveled from town to town. So
yeah, and I honestly think that the show taped in black and white, anyways,
yeah, probably did. And even if
because
it didn't,
yeah, another show I thought would be interesting to see in color it was a short-lived show, but I think it would have looked beautiful in color. It was a show called Treasure Isle. It was hosted by John Bartholomew Tucca, and it was the first. I want to say it's the first ever game show to tape in an area outside of New York or Los Angeles. Because it taped in Florida. It taped at some resort in Florida. And you know the game shows that had, you won time and then you had to do the bonus game in that specific amount of time?
Right.
They had that type of bonus game. I think it was one of the first ones that did it. Because the amount of time you earned in the front game became the bonus time that you had at the end, where you had to do some tasks in order to find treasure boxes. And in those treasure boxes are prizes. And it just looked fantastic, and for a show that was in the 60s, it was ahead of its time for what it did.
Yeah, you could see you could definitely see a mechanic like that in today's shows. I certainly could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like Paradise Run. There was some Treasure Isle influences. Do I see a show like Treasure Isle working again? Probably not. Would it be fun to see, though? Sure.
And there's
But,
nothing to say you can't adapt formats of a given show and revive them into a new show. That happens all the time.
yeah, I could see it working for kids, basically. Treasure Isle, any of these adventure shows, I think would be great for families or kids. It kind of reminds me of how there was the show called Video Village in 60 to 62 with Monty Hall. It got revived in 1964 or 5 as Shenanigans with Stubby K, and it became a kids game show where they would win shenanigans, which would be turned into the equivalent of S&H trading stamps. I think one shenaniganza was the equivalent to 100 trading stamps. So you could win. So the kids who walked away with about 2,000 to 3,000 shenaniganzas walked away with quite a good chunk of change. But now I get to talk about the wormhole that I've been sucked into, and I'm kind of ashamed to admit it. I've been addicted to Maury clips.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. There's certainly a lot of those that are certainly reaction and meme worthy.
There's still meme, even the new ones, because they do have a YouTube channel. Maury Povich does have a YouTube channel where they put up a whole bunch of these lie detector tests and DNA tests. And I got stuck in this wormhole because my brother told me about a certain YouTuber, I'm blanking on their name, who riffed on a video of you are not the father clips, or you are the father clips of white people, because it's a mix of different races. I think I worded that right. If not, I apologize, and I honestly do. But there was this one clip at the end where this girl came on the show 9 times prior. She wanted to know who was the father of one of her children. And guess what the results were the first 9 times?
Who is that?
You are not the father. You are not the father. You are not the father. All these 9 times. Then, a few years later, she comes back on the show for the 10th time, and she has 2 other children. And she's hoping that this time, this guy who has been raising these kids, taking care of these kids, is not the father. He's not a bad guy from what I could tell from the clip. But she just wants him out of her life. Maury riffs, you've been wrong all these times. And even Maury says, I think you're wrong this time. And then Maury goes, when it comes to 4-year-old, you are the father.
Oh, jeez.
And then she goes, no! No! And then Maury goes, and I love this line. Oh, the girl's name is Tanika. I think Tanika or something like that. He goes, "You've been on the show 9 times and you haven't heard you are the father. And now you hear you are the father and you're not happy about it?"
Oh, jeez.
And then comes with the second kid. He goes, "You are the father." So he's the father of both the kids that he's been raising.
Oof. Oof. Can we get the Roblox sound in there? We kind of need it for that.
And then she tells the guy, "I want you out of my life." And he has the perfect quip. "I'll get out of yours, but there's no way in hell I'm getting out of those kids' lives."
Oh, jeez.
So I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was like a after the show thing that's on the Maury YouTube channel. But you know what? Good on that guy. He's probably still raising those kids. Probably a little embarrassed he even had to go on Maury. But if he's raising those kids like the way he's been raising those kids, good on him. Like most of the men who go on Maury are just deadbeats.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the one chance in the shining sun, so yeah.
Especially with somebody who's been on the show 10 times. Anyway, that's been my wormhole. My little escape from doing all of these Dragon Warrior rando commentary stuff. And before I did the show, here's my schedule for today. I called a race at 11 o'clock in the morning. And then I was just relaxing, had lunch. You know, I was getting stuff ready to do. I was supposed to tape episode 6 of Game Show Gumbo. Actually, be episode 7 of Game Show Gumbo, I do believe. 6 or 7. The person who tapes with me, the producer, isn't feeling that well, so we postponed it to Thursday. So we're postponing it to Thursday. I was gonna take a nap, but they needed help with calling a race, so that's what I did, and it took 2.5 hours. The seat took about a little over 2 hours. And then I made dinner, and then getting the stuff ready for this. So yeah, I've had a busy day. So being a little
and still
exhausted.
doing this on top of it. Wow.
Right, and I have a video from the last Gumbocast that I'm putting up on YouTube tonight. It has to do with Holzhauer, if he would have lasted long. Would he have? How long would he still be playing? And speaking of, Holzhauer was in the news a little bit this past couple of days ago.
Yeah, he's trying to troll the media.
And it was a good troll. Basically, what happened in the sports world is that after... Now, we have a bone of contention with this between me and you. Andrew Luck, who was a quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, retired. His body was too beat up. And he said that the past 4 years have been injury, rehab, pain, or something to that effect.
Yeah, which checks out, certainly, with the ones he had early on, but not last year. Because I think by the time they actually built a good line last year, between having Braden Smith, between having Costanzo step up a little, Ryan Kelly being healthy, I mean, really, they had Quinn Nelson, they had such a good draft last year. And that's why Grigson had to go. That's why Ballard was such a good hire. Yeah.
And also Frank Reich, who...
Yeah, Frank Reich was a great hire, yeah. I mean, that's why Pagano needs to go. Yeah.
Pagano was...
all-in chips, more like all-out chips.
Yeah.
Because remember, Pagano had a few years ago, I think it was after the loss to the Patriots in 2015, he
Mm-hmm.
gave the team all-in chips that were like poker chips. It didn't
Yep.
quite work.
No. He went in on a 7-deuce offsuit, and everybody else just had pocket rockets, pocket aces. And that's the way that goes. Holzhauer tweeted about it, um, trolling the reactionary types out there, saying that I know what it's like to go out on the top of your game. And so he got some blowback from that, from reactionary fans who, you know how Drew Carey called the irrational hatred coming from certain parts of the Price is Right fan base as telephone pole screamers?
Oh yeah, that directed back to one specific user. Thankfully, I think that's in the past now with things, but certainly it certainly made some news. Eh.
Yeah. Well, Holzhauer was asked about that, and it all comes down to his final Jeopardy wager. And if you want to hear our take on this wager in more detail, there is it's on episode 2 of the Gumbocast, which you could download on the website, or there's a YouTube video on it. But
spoiler alert, it was the perfect wager.
Yep. And he even said as much if you look at the numbers. But Betcher got it right. And there you go. So, there you go. It's amazing how we went from just a normal intro to 13 Reasons Why to Treasure Isle to Maury to Andrew Luck and James Holzhauer.